We are in the portion of Behar, and the portion starts with a general introduction that the mitzvot of Hashem were given to us on Mount Sinai, and then it tells us specifically about one mitzvah, Shmita. And it says, I can read it in English, "Speak to the Israelite people and say to them, when you enter the land that I assign to you, the land shall observe a Shabbat of Hashem." So we were just told that all the mitzvot were given on Har Sinai, on Mount Sinai. So why then does it go specifically into Shmita? Why all of a sudden, Hashem gave Moses all of the mitzvot in detail in the 40 days that he was there. So why Shmita? Why is that used as the example? And we're going to explain that soon. So in the meantime, Shem Yishmael is the one that I use a lot. Points out the verse that was described when the people of Israel got to Har Sinai. And it says, having journeyed from Refidim, they entered the wilderness of Sinai and encamped in the wilderness. Israel encamped there in front of the mountain. So in Hebrew, it's Vayavo midbar Sinai, Vayachanu bamidbar, Vayachanu, Vayichan sham Yisrael neged ahar, Vayichan. So in the first one, it's plural, Vayachanu, and they encamped. And then the second one is Vayichan sham, Israel encamped. So the first one is plural, the second one is singular. So the question is, why? Why does it say first plural and then singular? If I'm going too fast, tell me, and if you have questions, tell me. So the sages say that the Torah teaches here that Israel camped together like one individual person with one heart, even though there were many people. But what does this actually mean? And there are many questions that are going to come up, and we're going to answer them slowly. So in order to understand this, we need to understand a little bit about Har Sinai, Mount Sinai. Why did Hashem especially want the Torah to be given on Mount Sinai? And I'm sure you've heard the stories that there's commentaries about the fact that all the mountains were upset. And, they're like, why not Mount Everest? Mount Everest is the tallest mountain in the world. And why not the Alps? They're the most beautiful. And why not Al Hermon? The Hermon is like the highest, and there's snow on top, and it's beautiful. So why not all those mountains? They're all beautiful. They're all powerful. They're all glorious. And they had pride in their beauty. But when it came to the giving of the Torah, pride was a fault. And this is one of the main topics of this week, that pride can make us blind. And we all have it. None of us are above it. We all have pride in some area of our life. So a proud person, the problem is not the pride. The problem is that a person who's proud can't see their faults. They can't see their weaknesses, or even if they see them, they can't admit them. And so how do we all have it, so how do we do tshuva from that? How do we get rid of pride? And do we have to get rid of pride completely? Because we all make mistakes, and that's okay. But if we can't admit our mistakes, then we can't grow. And we can't grow as personally, and we can't grow in a community. And that's when pride comes in, when we can't see our mistakes. So the mountains of the world were proud, but Har Sinai wasn't. It was one of the smaller ones. And it didn't even think, like, it could be considered a little hill next to all the big mountains that were there. So obviously we're not discussing the emotions and the physicality of the conversation of the mountains, right? We're not talking about that. But we learned, according to the sages, that everything in this world, including every blade of grass, has an angel in heaven. And so there was a conversation between the angels. And you can imagine the angel of Mount Everest having a conversation with the angel of the Swiss Alps, and all of them, fighting over who's more beautiful and who's bigger and who's taller. And Sinai had an angel, but the angel wasn't proud. The angel didn't have pride. It was a humble angel. And pride is what blocks us from recognizing our mistakes. And it stops us from personal growth, like I said, and growth in our community. And so the angel of Har Sinai represented a certain energy, while the angels of other mountains represented other energies. And before I go into that, do you have any questions or any comments of what we talked about up till now? And maybe a question for everybody is, and if you don't mind sharing, is where does your pride come in? Like, where do you know that you have an issue with pride? Because most of us don't have pride about everything, but there are certain things that we have pride in. Nobody's watching. I can edit it out, I promise you.
I just have a question about the mountains. Is it that their angels are different because they're geographically in different places?
Yes, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Yes, definitely.
I never knew the angels part.
Oh, yeah. Everything. Every person, we obviously we have our own personal angels, but also everything. Everything has an angel. Everything has energy. Hi. So
I was always just like, oh yeah, first thing I was talking. And
I mean, when we're little, we want to imagine the Har Sinai talking, and but actually it had angels. Yeah.
Can you recap the question?
Yeah, so the question is, where in your life do you see that pride is blocking you from growing spiritually or from admitting our mistakes? Like, I can tell you for me.
A lot more than most.
That's your pride.
No, even that, like we've had this conversation, three of us, that I think I know everything, and then that's a problem when I don't actually know things. And I talk like I know things because I believe that I do know it. And then I have to not come across, when I want to give advice to, I'm thinking now in my life to my siblings, and I have to come across as I don't know everything. You have to start off with that because I don't know better than you, even if I think I do. It's not it's not that I know something you don't. It's just different. There's nothing wrong with them, and you can come across. I think that's why people will get defensive. It's not that I know something you don't because I'm better than you. It's just differently or clearer in certain ways.
I think a lot of times if we stop and ask questions before we give advice, or maybe don't give advice if you're not asked to give advice.
Yeah, this is something I had with my mom, where she was like, I don't even want advice when you just want me to listen.
Okay, so...
To ask a question to these people in or to make it seem also that you don't.
No, because you really need to come from a place that you don't know. And if you ask a question, then maybe you'll be surprised. Well, then if you don't know, then ask.
I know that, but also
I have the same thing. I don't ask questions enough.
I used to be like, why doesn't so-and-so know this? And now I think it's because it's not their time to know it. Mm-hmm. And I think it's all about a time to know things, to go through certain stages in your life, and sometimes the door is closed, but for a reason, because you have to go through something for that door to be open. So I think everybody's on a different level, and I feel now I'm not so much of oh, why don't they know, or why don't I know it, or because you have to go through pain in life.
They don't know it yet.
Yeah, but you have to go through pain in life with your little, this doesn't matter. You have to go through heavy things for doors to open. It's just not like that, the doors open, I feel.
It's true. It's true.
And when they open, great. I hope we all walk in, but sometimes we don't. But I just feel we're so critical of other people sometimes. And I have come to the awakening that maybe it's not their time to know,
Yeah.
Maybe they have to go through certain things. And if they knew it prior, it wouldn't be good for them. So they have to go through certain things, certain hoops, to get through that and to go to that door. And if they don't go through certain hoops, it's not good.
It's the same for all of us. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
For everybody is what I'm saying.
Yeah. So we got to the place that we were talking about the angel of Har Sinai representing a certain energy, and the angels of other mountains representing a different energy. And it says, according to Rav Ashlag, that the only free will we actually have is to choose our surroundings. And our surroundings is what influence us. No matter how strong we are, no matter how connected we are to the Creator, no matter, what we believe in, eventually if we put ourselves in a place where the influence is negative, we will be influenced, no matter how strong we are. And the people of Israel needed the humility and the modesty and the energy of Har Sinai to be able to actually receive the Torah. So it's very, very important to always choose. That's the only thing you can actually choose. Your surroundings, physically where you're going to live, and who you surround yourself with, the kind of friends that you surround yourself with, because That's the thing that's going to influence you. I don't think anybody is above that. Nobody. None of us are above that. And that's why it's so important to make sure what we surround ourselves with. Because wherever we are has an influence on our soul. So why Har Sinai? Because of the humility and the modesty, and it influenced the Jewish people to come to a place where they were able to receive the Torah. Okay, now I want to talk about a little bit about, this is funny, about the individual Jewish intellect. Okay? And this is real. So we have powerful minds. The Jews have powerful minds, and we were given powerful minds for one reason, so that we can study Torah. So our intellect is a very high intellect, and if you think about it, we're way overrepresented in the world. Like, we're 1% of the world, yet I looked it up, 10% of Nobel Prize are Jews. 10%. I mean, and if you look at all the industries, it seems like we control the world, but there's a reason why. Because our souls were given a very high level of intellect in order to understand the Torah. Now, it has both sides to it. Each individual thinks his own way and has individual choices, and we have free will to make our own choices, and it can go both ways. So we can be in a crowd where nobody keeps Torah and mitzvot, and we can say, no, I'm going to do it. Or we can fight with each other, which is what happens a lot. I mean, if you have, the going joke is you have 2 Jews, you have 3 synagogues, one that each goes to, and the third that they both refuse to go to, because that's just how it is. And, if you think about it, the gift that the Creator gave the world, especially Jews, but the world also, is the unique minds, the unique intellect. I mean, if you think about the physicists who came up with, the quantum theory, or what was his name? Magellan, I think, who proved that the world is round. All of these individuals were unique, and they got that gift from Hashem. But we need to know how to use that uniqueness. We need to know how to use that individuality. And unfortunately, Jews disagree among themselves more than anyone else in the world. 2 Jews, 3 opinions. Always, always, always. And that kind of thinking always, a lot of the time, makes us think I'm right and you're wrong. Because that's just how we think. And if we understand that the analytical brain and the intellect that we were given was for Torah study, then we can use it for that, instead of using it to be right or wrong, which is what we do a lot. And there's been a lot of suffering through the years because of that. There's been a lot of suffering inside the Jewish nation itself because we can't agree with each other. And the only solution for that is ish echad belev echad, one soul, one person with one heart, to be all together. And if I look at myself as a part of a larger body, I can see myself as part of a collective. So if you think about all the different parts of our body, our right hand isn't going to fight with our left hand. If we want it to do something, it's going to do it. But my hands aren't going to walk, and my feet aren't going to hold my cup. So each part of my body has a certain job. So yes, it's individual, but it's part of my body so that it works together. And when I can see my weaknesses and my shortcomings, and I can destroy the barrier of pride, then that helps me to become part of a whole, because our pride is what builds the barriers between us and everyone else. On the other hand, we have too much humility, then we wouldn't get out of bed, then we would have low self-esteem, then we wouldn't, strive to be better. So it's about balancing the two. And there's self-doubts and all of these things. So before I talk about what the balance is, where are your, on both sides, one is the pride that you can take with you in a smart way, and where are your weaknesses where you fight with people a lot? About what? Because everybody has it.
You're saying like the points where you fight with people is also pride, but it's being used in a negative way?
Yeah.
I think, we just came out of finals. It's about to show all of these good news. I think, for me at least, like my pride in that is, I think, both, like, they're the
Usually it
two
is.
sides of the same coin. I think I have pride in, like, that I know things and, like, I can teach it to others. But at the same time, like kind of similar to what Sean was saying, like, if I think I know everything, I'm not able to, I don't want to teach it to other people because you're not on the same level as them. You, like, think you're higher than them.
Yeah.
Also, you wouldn't do a good job teaching. You think, like, if you don't dumb it down, you think, what's it like that?
Yeah.
I like the teaching and the learning, I'm very much like I want to learn, but I also like the teaching. And I think that people who think, oh, I'm just a teacher, like, wow. Because there's so much to learn. And people say that they know everything. I mean, I will say, like, I know nothing. Especially, like, in this setting. I'm always like, I know nothing. Because I feel like we really don't know much. We may know, like, a drop in the bucket. And because there's, such a vast universe and everything. But, I enjoy learning. But I
That's
also
good.
enjoy teaching. And I'm definitely not a teacher. I'm not only a teacher. I'm not only a student. I'm both. And as we all are both. And I think it's important to know that we are both,
Yeah.
So,
Nice.
You get, like, the smartest people are the ones who know that they don't know.
Exactly.
I really know nothing. The whole, everybody.
Yeah.
Collective.
Yeah, we don't. And that's why we're here together, because we need to learn from each other. Everybody has a little bit of something, and all of that together is a big thing. But that's one of the biggest challenges, is to be able to go around and really learn from everybody something. And then once you're in a place where you are willing to learn from everybody something, then naturally you'll share what you have to know, but the idea of pride won't even come in, because it's just part of something.
Also, like, you learn better by teaching other people.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's most teachers, if they're good teachers, they know that they're teaching because they don't know. And so they have to go over and over and over and over so that they can teach someone else so that it'll stay in their brain.
It's true. I'm like that.
Do you teach?
Business, too, is like that. I was just on the phone with somebody, and he'd tell this to me again, again. What are you saying? Repeat.
Yeah, it takes time, and it's the intellect that we have, the mind that we have to study Torah is the brain that we were given to study in general, to be able to study. So what's the balance? It says in Pirkei Avot, he also used to say, if I am not for myself, who is for me? But if I am for my own self only, what am I? And if not now, when? That's obviously a famous verse. אם אין אני לי מי לי, וכשאני לעצמי מה אני, ואם לא עכשיו אימתי. So I read a different explanation completely about what this actually means. And what it means is, if I don't believe in my own thinking, who will do this for me? Meaning, if I don't believe in myself, who's going to believe in me? I have the power of my individual brain. I have something to be proud of, but alone and isolated, I'm detached from the collective, meaning I'm nothing. So, again, if I don't believe in my own thinking, who will do this for me? It's not that if I don't take care of myself, who's going to take care of me? It's if I don't believe in my own thinking, who will do this thinking for me? And if I have I can have something to be proud of, but if I isolate myself, if I detach myself from the collective, then I'm nothing. So it's the concept of yesh and ayin at the same time. It's the concept of what is yesh, means I exist, I am good at what I do, I'm proud, I am capable, I have all of that, but I'm not alone in the world. So what's the ayin? The ayin is I'm a small part of something. I'm a small keg in the, what's it called, the keg in the wheel? I'm a small part of it. So at the same time, I have both. I have my self-esteem, I know what I can do, but I'm also part of something. And this brings us back to the verse in the beginning where they were great individuals. It's that, why plural and then singular? Vayichanu and vayichan. So they were great individuals. Each one of them had their own perspective of Har Sinai. They recognized their own talents, and at the same time, each one realized that alone they were weak. that they couldn't alone do anything. They had to merge together and become one to be strong. So it's not about canceling yourself completely, because if you cancel yourself completely, then you don't exist. We need to have some kind of ego and desire to be able to get out of bed in the morning and do what we need to do and be good at it. And there would be no pride or joy or anything if we didn't believe that. But at the same time, to remember how small we are compared to Hashem, and to remember how small we are compared to everybody else in the world, in our communities, in our social circles, and to be able to understand that there's two at the same time, yesh and ayin. To really have that sense of self, and to be able, like you said, teach and learn. To be able to teach and to be able to learn. To have that balance between I am somebody, and I'm not going to cancel myself completely, but like I said, the right hand isn't going to fight with their left hand because they're part of the body. So each organ has an individual job, but if one stops working, it affects the whole body. So if one organ in our body doesn't work the right way, the whole body is in crisis. And that's how we should look at all of our communities and our social circles, is that if we don't do what we're supposed to do, then we're affecting everybody else, even though we might not see it. We're affecting everybody else. And it's both ways. If we think that we're very low, we're bringing everybody else down with us. If we think we're too high, we're disconnecting ourselves from everybody. So it's to find the balance. And there are a couple of things that I thought were nice tools to balance, and it's from Shem Yishmael again. And there were 5 different things. One is that Torah study comes first. So what Shem Yishmael was saying is that if you have a choice between Torah and mitzvot, that you should study Torah, and only if there's nobody else around to do that certain mitzvah, then you go and do it. But if you're going to do a mitzvah, you should always look for somebody else to do it with you. You should never want to do it alone. Why? Because that reminds us that we're part of something. If there's no one there, and we have to do it alone, then we should also be doing it alone and quietly, making sure that we're not now getting credit for what we're doing, because that feeds into our pride. So it's like one step after the other. Torah study always comes first, then mitzvah. So if you have a choice between Torah study and doing mitzvot, it's better to do Torah study if you can, and if you have to do it, if there's no one else around, if it's a situation where you know that if you don't do it, it's not going to get done, you do it, but you look first for other people to help you. And after that, if you end up doing it alone, try to be quiet about it. And then the last part is to be able to, while you're doing this, to pray to Hashem and ask really for humility. To ask for humility and to overcome the pride, because everybody is allowed to be, you're allowed to be happy when you're doing a mitzvah. You should be happy when you're doing mitzvah. But again, there's the balance between being happy and enjoying doing the mitzvah for Hashem, or I'm proud and I want everybody to see that I'm doing it and I want recognition for it. So if while you're doing it and you're happy, you're able to ask the Creator for help in humility and pride to overcome it, then you know at least you're doing it somewhat for the right reason. Because we never do things always for the right reason. But then we also recognize that everything we have is from Hashem. Everything is from the Creator. And I was having this discussion with somebody the other day where people really think, we forget. We think, okay, we worked hard, we're going to get the big paycheck. Or we put in, 80 hours a week and we deserve what we have. No, it's a gift. Everything we have is a gift. We could never, the amount of gifts that we have daily from the Creator, we could never work that amount for, ever. The amount of miracles that happen to us, the amount of things that we receive in our life, it's almost as they are free gifts. Because really the work that we do is never compared, at least I know in my life, it never compares to what I have. It can't be. It doesn't make any sense. I would have to work 24/7 all the time and work the right way and with the right consciousness to get everything that I have. And I think that's something that's really important to remember, that everything is from Hashem. When we walk out in the morning, to know that we need to work hard for what we have, but when we come back at night, to know that everything that we earned is from the Creator. So it's the balance. Yeah, go ahead.
Sometimes I feel like I believe in that too much. Like, sometimes I feel like Hashem is just going to give me everything.
But I hope you do something for it, too.
No, always.
Okay.
Like, sometimes I'm a little naive and I don't know.
I mean, I don't think it's naive. I think as long as you put in your 100%, and you don't sit around waiting for Hashem to give you, that's like the story with the guy who's drowning, and the lifeboat comes, and the helicopter comes, and somebody throws him, and he says, no, I'm waiting for God to save me. And he drowns, and he gets to heaven, and they ask him, what happened? And he says, well, I was waiting for you to save me. And God says to him, well, who sent you the lifeboat and the helicopter? So if we know and we're taking advantage of what we need to do and we do it 100%, then yeah, it's okay to believe that. But the question is, do you also accept the no's? Meaning, if you don't get something, do you know that it's also from Hashem? Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then that's good.
Yeah, I feel like I don't always put 100% though, because I put in too much.
Yeah. So that we have to do our 100%. We have to put in our 110%. We have to do as much as we can to earn it. But it's not because we're actually earning it. It's to get rid of any kind of... if someone takes you to lunch every day and pays for you every single day, at some point you're going to feel uncomfortable because they're paying for you every day. So you're going to want to either pay or do something for it. It's the same thing. So we know that we're going to get everything that we need. Not necessarily everything we want, but everything that we need. And so in order to be able to earn on our level what we need or want, we should put in our effort as much as we can in any area of our life.
So does that mean that the efforts are really more for ourselves is it for ourselves?
Yes, the effort is for us. It's not, the Creator doesn't need our effort.
Right.
Creator is going to give no matter what.
Like how you said, everything is created in Gan Eden except like a few little plants that let him work.
Yeah. No, there's a concept that Eliyahu spoke about last week in the foundations class called bread of shame. So what is bread of shame? Bread of shame is when you get something that you didn't work for free. So our earning is not for the Creator. Our earning is for us, to help us earn what we have, at least think that we earned what we have. And so that we put in that effort and we do our connection to the Creator. So when we get rid of pride, we can truly become closer to the Creator. So now let's go back to the beginning. Let's go back to Shmita. We started with why Shmita. Why is it? Shmita is a sabbatical year. So every 7 years, the farmers need to, for Israel, every 7 years, the farmers need to leave the land open to everybody, and the gates are open, and anybody can come and take. It doesn't belong to the farmer that year. And they know that the year after, everything will be taken care of. So this mitzvah of Shmita was explained in the beginning of this portion as an example to all of the mitzvot that were given. And the question was why? Because there's 613 mitzvot that we could have explained. Why Shmita? And Shmita shows the pride. On the one hand, the farmer says, I don't own anything. This land is not mine now. It belongs to everybody. And the gates are open. I'm a tiny part of this nation. And the nation is the rightful owner. It's not mine, and I'll share it with everybody, and I'll eat with the poor people. And they share the food. This is getting rid of their pride. It's getting rid of their pride because they're the owner of the land, and they're saying, nope, I'm doing it.
Do they practice this now?
In Israel,
Yeah.
they do Shmita.
Do
They do it. I don't know what the laws are today and how it's done. I think you were in Israel, in Shema. Do you know how they do it?
The government pays you if you do Shmita. They have like
Oh,
a
is that right?
I have no idea how it works.
It's like we're observing Shmita. It's like a huge.
It has to be done.
That they go through, depending on what people decide to do, there's like different loopholes that they can jump
There's a lot of
through.
mixture, it's very confusing.
But they do a whole year supposedly?
Yes.
Wow.
It's so cool to see.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah. So, and then on the other hand, the farmer has to be strong. He has to overcome the desire to own the land. Can you imagine? It's my land. I worked for it 6 years. Now I have to give it up. So the strength of his commitment shows the greatness of the individual where they're working. And this is me as an individual deciding what's right, no matter how hard it's going to be. Because
He
this
also has
is,
to plan. He has to plan ahead.
yeah,
He has to figure out
Yeah.
his finances.
yeah. So this is why the mitzvah is explained on Mount Sinai, because It's the pride and the humbling. It's both the ish and the ayin, where I'm part of this nation, and I'm going to commit to doing this every 7 years, and I know that this is the right thing to do, and I'm canceling myself in that 7th year, and I'm saying it belongs to everybody. So that's why the mitzvah of Shmita was chosen as an example for this portion, because this portion is all about pride and humbleness, and balancing between our pride and our humbleness. And I want to share a story, unless you have questions.
We should get one of these farmers or the guy on just his experience with just Shmita and how he's
Oh, we could do
planning
that.
for it and what happened to him, the gifts later.
I think you've heard. Have you
I
heard
think
stories,
it's
Lachali?
important.
Have you started? No, when you were there, nobody told stories.
We went to a farm.
You had an etrog.
I went to an adult farm.
That's a
I didn't
farm.
meet the farmer.
Oh, you didn't meet the farmer?
I think it would be interesting.
They
to
are on
hear.
YouTube, they have such.
Oh, really? They have testimonies?
This would be a good idea.
Yeah.
Everyone farmers say-
Because it's not a law. It's not a law for here. It's a law for Israel.
No, I know that.
Yeah.
There are organizations that help supplement the farmers' income during that time.
Wow.
Yeah, just like what happens to them, how they're blessed, or what goes on.
Oh, for sure they're blessed. For
It's
sure.
It's an example for everybody.
It's an example of being able to cancel yourself and at the same time have enough belief in yourself that you can do this.
Right, amazing.
And belief in Hashem.
And in belief in Hashem, obviously. It brings us closer to the Creator. So that's what I want to talk about now. There's a story that I read, and it's about bringing yourself closer to the Creator. And I'm going to read it because it's a little bit of a long story, but bear with me. It's a good story. So moving to another country is never an easy thing. It demands a lot from a person who's old enough to know what he's getting into and has made the decision to pick himself up and move across the world. And for a child who leaves his home and finds himself in a brand new environment, it's even more difficult. He has to learn a new language and a new culture. He has to make friends, and he has to develop new tastes and enjoyments. And every country obviously has their own food and their own activities. And he has to do all these things pretty quickly so that he won't be left behind, and he'll have a social circle and he'll have friends. And this person is talking about their own experience. And he says, my parents moved to Israel when I was about 6 years old. And although at that age, children can pick up information and languages very quickly, it's not the easiest in the world. And that was what happened to him. So even though many Americans who moved across the country to Israel, where do they usually move to? Yerushalayim, right? His parents decided to go to Tzfat in the north. So he moved into a brand new building right across from a neighborhood called Canaan. And it's above the city. You guys know it? You've been there? You've been there? Okay. It's very nice there. And even though he was just a little boy, he remembers everything that happened. And he, as a member of the family, he was given a daily job. So everybody had a job to do, and he was given a chore. And it was a simple thing, but as a 6-year-old, it seemed very demanding. So every morning he had to get up early. He had to get up an hour early before everybody else and go to the grocery store that was located about a 2-minute walk from his house. Okay, a 6-year-old. Now, leaving his building every morning, he would be, Tzfat in the morning is very windy. And in the winter, it's even worse. So he would feel the wind. On calm days, the wind was not that bad. During the winter, when it was really bad, he would put on a hood and, everything. So what he had to do was he would take the keys. So there was a bridge that went from his neighborhood to like the entrance of the gated area, and it had a gate that was kept locked. And the people who lived in the building all had the keys to it. And his mother always gave him the key, and he'd unlock the gate on his way out and lock it again on the way back, and he would have bread and fresh milk and butter and all this stuff. And that's how it was every day. On this certain morning, he was all set to leave for the grocery store, and his mother said, take this key ring. Now, this key ring was her personal key ring with all the keys of the whole house and everything. And it had a black pouch attached to it with money in it. And she said, please be careful with this. It would be a nightmare to have to replace everything. So he took the keyring. Remember, he's 6 years old. He took the keyring, and he's wishing that she had given her the regular keys, but probably it wasn't available, so she just grabbed whatever was available. So he left the house, he walked downstairs, and he made his way across the bridge towards the street. When he reached the gate, he unlocked it and put the keyring back in his pocket, making sure that he was taking good care of the keyring. He got the groceries, he did his normal shopping, he got a loaf of bread, butter, milk, whatever. He got his plastic bag that he was taking, the basket, and he left the store, and he got to the gate to go back into his house, and he reached in to get the keys, and they weren't there. And he realized that he lost the keys. Now it's his mother's keyring with all the keys that disappeared, and he stood there and he couldn't move. And he couldn't, like, it was a big tragedy for him. He's a 6-year-old. His mother told him not to lose the keys, and he loses the keys. And the keys are gone, and he doesn't know what to do. And so he knows that he has to tell his mother. He doesn't want to tell his mother, but he knows he has to tell his mother. So he's standing there waiting for someone to go into the building so that he can get in. And before that, he turns around, he retraces his steps, he goes, and it's not that far. It's a 2-minute walk. He can't find the keys. Gets home. Mommy, yes, I lost the keys. So she looked at him, and he says, I lost the keys. And she obviously sees his expression. She's upset, but there's nothing they can do. And he goes to his room, closes the door, and starts crying, and that's that. The next morning, after he got dressed, his mother handed him another key and said, okay, take this, and please go and get everything we need for breakfast. So he leaves the building, he walks through the doors and out onto the bridge, and he looks up at the sky, and he says, in the direction of Hashem, Hashem, I don't know where my mother's keyring is, but you know where it is. I have no way of knowing where my mother's keyring is, but you know exactly where it is. Hashem, you just have to give me back the keyring. This is what he says. So he passed through the gate looking every which way. He kept on repeating what he was saying. I don't know where the keys are, but you know exactly where they are. I need you to give them back to me. Goes into the grocery store. He buys whatever he's supposed to buy. Before he leaves the store, he looks everywhere for the keys, but they're nowhere to be found. He goes with the plastic bag in his hand. He goes back to the gate. And again, he's praying and he's saying, I don't know where the keys are, but you know where they are. Please give them back to me. As he stands there looking up at the sky, he sees his mother. This is a true story. He sees his mother's keyring flying towards him from the sky. And he's like, I must be seeing things. There's no way, because how could something like this happen? So he obviously is in shock, and he sees the keys going towards a group of teens, and they like fall next to these teens. And someone caught the ring and threw it. They're playing with the key ring now, and he's like shocked and he's anxious and he just wants the keys. So he goes to them and says, those are my mother's keys. And they stare at him and they say, these are your mother's keys? And he says, yes. He says, okay. And they say to him, okay, take us to your house and we'll return them to her. So they follow him through the gate. They go up to the building and they say, and he says to his mother, come quickly, I found your keys. And his mother comes running to the door and he thanks the boys for returning the keys. And she hands them a couple of lirot, it was lirot in those days, for the keys. And she's obviously very happy. And till this day, he doesn't comprehend what happened, but it actually brought him closer to Hashem because he could pray that way till this day, where I don't know, but you know. So help me, because I don't know. And it canceled his pride, and he got closer to Hashem because we don't know. Who knows? We don't know. So if the simple prayer of, I don't know, you know, help me, that's all we need to pray, is to really be open to that humbleness of going back to Mount Sinai, where I'm a mountain, I'm a big mountain, I'm nothing compared to Mount Everest. But that was the humility and the humbleness and the cancellation of the pride on that level that they were able to receive the Torah. That's it.
I don't
Questions?
know, you know, help me. I don't know, you know, help me.
Exactly. I mean, it's a simple prayer of a 6-year-old child who experienced that miracle of keys flying out of the sky. Can you imagine?
That's right.
Okay, guys, any more questions or anything?
Why every day you have to go to the store?
Yeah, right?
I mean, I don't know. This is a long time ago. This was a long time ago. You bought things that were fresh. You didn't buy things for a
You
week.
went in the morning, you got,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
got all the dairy stuff, and you got the fresh rolls and everything
Yeah.
in the morning. The kids went, not the parents. The kids went in the morning.
Yeah.
You got the eggs and stuff.
Yeah.
Wow.
I guess you get the breakfast longer than that.
No, you do it-
bought it from McCullough, and everything
Exactly.
was fresh.
And everything was written down. You didn't pay for it right away. You wrote it down. And
Necessarily.
till today it is.
Yeah, you had like chance, but it
Yeah.
was basically that the kids were sent, and the
Yeah.
kids that
So
young
it was
go
like-
alone in Israel at this school. I
Not
don't know
today,
what it
but
is
yeah.
now. I don't know
Not
what
today,
it's
but
saying.
yes.
But I walked to
It's so
school
true, 'cause
alone.
I
I
have a
just
hard
moved
time
from the
asking
States back to
God
Israel,
for
and
things, 'cause I have a
I
very
was
hard
walking alone and
Yeah.
everything at that age,
time.
same age.
How old?
Like 6, 7 years old. Everybody
Yeah.
does it.
Everybody did it.
Actually, they take the bus by themselves.
Yeah, no, in Israel, I mean, not, I don't know today, I don't know, but Israel used to be, that's how it was.
Very scary.
Yeah.
They're on the bus alone still.
Yes.
Yeah.
Still at it.
5-year-old. Wow. But like the normal
I was so
Israelis,
surprised when I was
it's
there.
more normal there. Israelis kind of like they take care of each other in a way.
Yeah.
It's very
Yeah.
different than here.
It's true.
You like Tel
Yeah.
Aviv and Jerusalem,
Oh,
everywhere
yeah.
in Israel?
Yeah.
Loved it.
Pretty much,
It
yeah.
was just the Arabs that you were scared of. Like they just made sure that if you got into a cab, your parents put you in a cab, they looked to make sure it wasn't an Arab driver or whatever.
Yeah.
Kid alone or. Yeah,
All right,
it's just
guys. Thank you.